Our last episode was, is there a civil war coming? A lot has changed since our last episode me and you did. That's on the record now. It's not even conspiracy anymore. I care about the truth. And a lot of people got played and they don't even realize it. I think the biggest problem we have in the world, and I think you can agree, and especially here in the US, is ignorance. That people just hate other people without ever hearing what they have to talk about or what their story is. And listen, sometimes what people don't realize is that you're both right. Mm-hmm. And that's even more dangerous than if only one side is right? Because eventually the truth wins. I believe on left and right, both have grievances that make sense to them. That they feel so justified and they're willing to die on that hill for. That's what's so dangerous about the time that we're in. And I think people that are in the middle are more important than they've ever been because we have to find a way to keep both coexisting together. I really do think our last episode was, is there a civil war coming? Okay, we had like 500,000 views in one day or whatever it was.
That's right.
Okay, and so do I think we're in as much danger as that? Remember, this is before he won his second term. I still think that threat exists. I still think it hasn't gone away. I think people are still talking in that way. And I think a lot of people that thought that Donald Trump was Jesus Christ are waking up to the reality that he wasn't. That he's still controlled by certain governments and people and certain groups of people that a lot of people are calling out. I'm not calling them out in that aspect, but I kind of just did. And America's not first when it comes to certain countries, bro. It's just not. If we're sending billions of dollars to certain countries in the Middle East that we can call, our colonies or our greatest ally, I don't see how that's an America first policy. I find that to be a lie. Billions of dollars going to war, billions of dollars to occupy a people that have really been destroyed completely. There's nothing left to take from those people. And I'm avoiding certain words because I don't want this, this episode flagged. So we're not as free as we should be. If Donald Trump really cared about America the way he led everyone to believe, and all these Q people that worship the letter Q, you got played, son. Controlled ops, son. You got played, boys. If he cared about free speech, especially because of everything he went through, he should introduce an amendment to the U.S. Constitution to update the Constitution for today's world. Meaning, because we're in a digital age, because social media has become the new public square, the First Amendment must be guaranteed on any social platform. And countries that censor and want to suppress information, places like the UK, which is why they're attacking Russell Brand, should have sanctions imposed on them. We need to protect free speech on the internet, period. That doesn't mean that we should allow violence and stuff, but free speech itself, debates about any topic. There shouldn't be algorithms pushing one way or the other. When you had people like Mark Zuckerberg admit on record that he was influenced by the Biden administration to suppress any debate or discussion about these things that they pumped into millions of people's arms and why they shut down the world and where it really came from. And a lot has changed since our last episode me and you did. That's on the record now. It's not even conspiracy anymore. I don't care about Republican or Democrat. I care about the truth. I care about what's right and what's wrong. And a lot of people got played and they don't even realize it. It's crazy. We still haven't gotten justice for our families. Everyone that lost their lives 2019 on from what was released across the ocean. That's on record with the three-letter agency, starts with a C. On record, Matt, that, it was probably a leak. Okay, so, we're not so crazy anymore. What's scary now, though, is the technocrats are all on the same team, buddy, under Trump. Zuckerberg, Musk, Gates, Oracle, Bezos. A technocracy is forming right in front of us, my friends, a true technocracy. I mentioned this on your show. Those clips went viral about how crypto is the enemy, in my opinion. That we will live in a world where we're on a universal ledger and it'll start with money and eventually will penetrate into every aspect of our lives. You won't be able to move without them knowing. And one wrong move, one way or the other, you will have serious financial repercussions or a social credit system. That's where it's all heading. And I'm starting to think Trump is even in on it. I really am starting to think it.
We just did a video about the Trump coin, right?
Yeah.
The Trump
That
coin.
wasn't a freaking scheme? Come on, man. Pump and dump.
We'll
And
see.
then you talk about like TD Bank, right? Just proven to have been money laundering for all the cartels, right? Great. And any of us do anything smaller than that, they're on record. It's right. Pull it up, Colby, please. Pull it up. TD Bank money laundering. Okay. So what happens, Matt, is how is no one in jail, Matt? You did crimes far below that, Matt. Okay? Money washing for bloodthirsty criminals across the globe. They actually look pretty damn good on you, man. The Beksters. But I don't like them. These are prototype.
These are prototypes?
Yeah, I'm going to make these
the real ones.
They're like,
I swear to God, you walk into Hard Rock or someplace like that, they're like, who's this guy? That's Matt.
Here's for the thumbnail.
They're like, that's Matt Cox.
You know, Andrew Tate has a pair of glasses he's selling for what, 20,000?
Yeah.
Andrew Tate, and he says it's not because I'm.
Well, the Muslims are pissed at Andrew Tate right now, by the way.
He says it's not because I'm trying to make money. It's because if I see you out there and I know, and you're wearing these glasses, I know you're someone worth talking to, or something like that.
It's brilliant marketing when you think about it.
That's exactly.
The Muslims are a little upset with Andrew Tate because remember,
so this is what the article says: TD Bank hit with record $3 billion fine over drug cartel money laundering.
Wow.
This was in October.
I don't care
10th.
about the fine. Who's going to jail, Colby? Who's going to jail for TD Bank's money laundering? Who? Name me one person that's going to jail.
They probably made $3 billion.
Name
and they
me-
get fined $1
exactly.
million. So it's worth.
Name me who went to jail for 2008 for the complete demise of our financial system. Name me one, and then they want to come after a little guy like Matt Cox and throw him in jail. He should be vindicated. No, I'm joking.
I'm guilty.
No, I'm just joking. I'm
but
just saying.
I'm saying I know.
But I'm saying in correlation to that, that's blood money, bro. Okay? People lose their lives for that money. Countries are destroyed over that. And no one goes to jail. But if any of us do even, God forbid, misreport our taxes, we're thrown into prison, bro. Meanwhile, you had an accountant that should have been doing what's right anyway. Like, why do we hire accountants? Because I don't know what I'm doing. I shouldn't be, at that point, the fiduciary responsibility should be on the accountant, not me. I paid the accountant to make sure this is done properly. They should be tried and convicted if they do something wrong. That's not the case if I'm mistaken. You get in trouble.
You get in trouble. You signed off. They
But
always
that's
have you
bullshit,
sign off.
man. That's such bullshit.
And the tax law is so difficult.
They can find something wrong with anything, man, because you're not even doing it. You have no malicious intent. Like, I want to pay. I've called and said, hey, I want to make sure I paid enough.
Right.
I've never disputed when they say you owe. Like, I'm not trying to dodge you, bro.
Right.
Okay? I just wish we could dodge some of that money going overseas and blowing up kids for no reason for the last 40 years. I'd like some of that money being used for my people. If you know what? I don't agree with the government, the amount of tax they do on us, but at least if they were doing something productive for the world we live in, for the roads, for the kids, it's used for blood, man, thirst, destruction, nothing for construction, man. Evil, man.
I've got a question
Go
that
ahead,
you
Cole.
might have an opinion on.
You think that's right, though, Colby?
Do you think
that's right?
Do you think he's going to have an opinion on it?
Oh, yeah.
I don't. He's
Do you
not
think somebody should be in jail
he's
for
not
money
very
laundering?
opinionated.
$3 billion?
Yeah.
ahead.
So, Luigi, New York City, where you live.
He shot the guy right in front of where I used to smoke cigarettes every day for 2 years. I worked in the Hilton. That's the biggest hotel in Manhattan, by the way. What do I think about him? I think he's become like a modern Robin Hood is what I think. I think people love him. Am I agreeing with what he did? I don't think it's right how people are making fun of the way he was killed because the guy does have family. It's not their fault if he was a scumbag. And I'm not saying he was, but maybe he was. I don't think you get to the top of the corporate ladder without sucking some serious cock or being a complete scumbag, because I rode the levels of the corporate world and I was like, this ain't the world I want to be in. Okay? I've seen time and time again people passed up in the corporate world, Matt, that worked hard, that were more deserving than others. Why'd they get the job? They were sucking cock and kissing ass.
Don't hold back. How do you really feel?
And me, I never sucked dick in the corporate world. I told my boss to go fuck her mother in front of the entire office, bro. Because I'm not for sale, you motherfuckers. Bro.
And your stuff gets demonetized.
Yeah, because they don't like people like us. They don't want people they can control, Matt Cox. They don't want to push us up. Only you can push people like me and Matt up. I'm putting him in my ranks.
I was gonna say you keep lumping me in with you. I wish you wouldn't
He's
do
like,
that.
I just do interviews.
It's
I
like,
just do interviews. I don't know what Beck's
it's
talking
like
about.
Myron, when Myron was here, he's like, and a lot of these views are mine and mine only.
What?
He kept saying that,
Yeah.
just to clarify. Have you talked to Myron? I feel like you guys.
I have
would,
his cell phone. I spoke to him on X. The fact I haven't been on your show, Myron, is I don't know what the fuck you're waiting for, bro. That's another guy that I'm, he's like.
He's got a great. They're not fucking around, bro. They got it. Have you ever seen where their studio is,
bro?
It is right in the middle of Brickell.
Let me tell you something.
entire
Let me tell you
operation.
something. That guy, the fact he's still breathing and the Mossad hasn't taken him out is a miracle.
Okay. I don't know
Yeah,
about
like I
all
think
that.
you guys. I
He's
think you guys.
I'm not
have a
on
good
that
conver-
level, bro.
I'm saying I think you guys have a good conversation.
Bro, he brings
Yeah.
on some clowns, bro. I'm one of the most viral people on earth discussing some of the most controversial and important issues, like how to build bridges between the Christians and the Muslims. That's how we avoid Armageddon. I'm the only one on the entire world stage. It's not like, oh, the Christians are wrong. I don't care what Christians believe. Muslims and Christians both believe in Jesus Christ. How simple is this? I have a radical concept. Half the world, Matt Cox, believes that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. And they also believe, guess what? He's going to come back to earth one day, right? Right? Christians believe that, right? So do Muslims.
all right.
Why do we need to kill each other? When he comes back, he'll tell us, I was God. No, I was only a prophet like them. Whatever he decides to tell us he is, cool. Until then, let's focus on these people that have taken God out of society, brought filth into our world, teach our children disgusting crap, have helped destroy the family unit and everything that was wholesome about life, that has brought technology, which we thought was to liberate us, in my opinion, to enslave us. And they're not done with us. So my Christian brothers and sisters, I love you, I respect you. I may not agree with everything you believe in, but I respect you. I don't feel an inert hatred in my heart as a Muslim to want to fight you or end your life. And I hope you feel the same way about us, because I'm here to tell you on the Matt Cox Show, which has nothing to do about religion, that we are not your enemies. If we unite, we can change this world, bro. Next topic, Matt Cox.
Okay. Doge.
The coin itself or the Department of Government?
No, Department of Government.
Do I like to expose
the
him?
Department of it's
Government efficiency.
Government
Yeah.
efficient.
Yeah.
Department of
Yeah.
Government
And at this
efficiency.
time, is Elon? I saw an article saying Elon may be removing himself.
I don't trust
Well,
Elon Musk
I trust Elon.
at all, bro.
I do, but I think he may be removing himself because it's having such a detrimental effect on every company that he owns. I think he's realizing that the backlash.
So the left wins then.
Probably.
The left won against him, bro.
That's what bothers me is that
If he steps down, then they won.
right then that's
Against
what,
him, at least.
right. That's what bothers me is that to me it's like, okay, so you forced me out, and that would bother me, especially since
Or it's a tactic to make it seem like he's stepping out just so they stop blowing up every Tesla on the ground. He's still in the background, but he's not going to stop in the background. Let's be real. You guys keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry about it.
I think
Trump's coming for all you, bro.
what I think is interesting is that the left is so upset with him going through and cutting off these programs and this money where you're sending $200 million to some organization that it oversees
In Guyana or someplace.
that's then re-laundering that money and sending it back to some other organization that you
It's out of
control, that
control.
you can then that the left can then funnel into some type of news organization to help promote their agenda. So what I think, and I don't think it's all the left, because even Elon Musk was talking about the other day, he's talking about how there's going to be arrests soon for fraud. He's like, and
Can he
it's not,
start with Nancy Pelosi, bro?
and he said it's not all,
And Gavin Newsom. Go ahead, sorry.
and he said it's not all Democrats. He's like, it's not. He's there's some Republicans in there that have
absolutely.
taken money. Like,
Can he-
absolutely.
yeah.
So here's my problem is that the money that is being refunneled into some of these news organizations and agendas.
That's propaganda,
and
bro.
You ever read a headline and think, wait, that's not what I read earlier? Or hear a story that was covered two totally different ways and think, I wonder which one's telling the truth. We all know the news can be biased. Algorithms push stories that they think you want to see, and some outlets spin stories to fit a certain agenda. It's exhausting trying to figure out what's real, what's exaggerated, and what's just straight up misinformation. That's why I use Ground News. It's a news platform that doesn't just show you the headlines, it shows you the whole story. It gathers articles from across the political spectrum, tells you the bias of each source, and even lets you compare how different outlets are framing the same event. For example, the recent federal health agency layoffs. Left-leaning news described the layoffs as a major crisis, calling them a bloodbath that could harm important public health work like tracking diseases. On the other hand, right-leaning news saw the layoffs as positive change. They called it a win-win for taxpayers, which could save $1.8 billion a year. Both sides agree the layoffs and changes were happening, but they strongly disagree on what it meant. Ground News lets you compare these side by side so you can actually see the bias and decide for yourself what to believe. You can also see things like how news sources are covering a particular story, political leaning of news outlets, and the blind spot feed where you can see stories that are disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. In a world of clickbait and echo chambers, having access to all perspectives is more important than ever. That's why I love Ground News. It helps me cut through the noise and stay truly informed. And right now you can get 40% off the Vantage plan for unlimited access. Just hit the link in my description, ground.news/inside, and start seeing the news differently today. Well, here's what bothers me about that is that pretty much exclusively, all of that is going towards left-leaning organizations. So if you're dumping $500 million a year into these organizations to push your agenda, once they cut that off, I think in 4 years from now, the face of the United States and what their belief system is going to be irrevocably changed.
I think it's
from what it was.
You need more than 4 years.
5 years.
You're gonna need about a generation to two to change the damage that's been done.
Okay, and that
I call the
that
left
may be
now.
true, but the pendulum will still shift somewhat.
Can we give the two parties nicknames?
I mean, I don't know.
I want to call the left dick choppers,
Oh my God.
and I want to call the right warmongers.
Well, the right isn't right. This not Trump.
No,
at
they
least,
are. They are.
But Trump isn't.
Trump is not for now, but they started all the
He
wars in the
wasn't
Middle
the
East.
first term either.
They started all the wars in the Middle East.
Okay.
And technically, what's going on in the Middle
that's
East right now?
definitely Bush.
Listen,
definitely Bush.
technically, when he
And both Bushes,
was in
really.
term first office, Trump, he made the new embassy. He moved the embassy, which was a de facto recognition that can I say the word?
Yes.
The Palestinians would not have any claim to Jerusalem as the capital of the two-state solution. So technically, even though he didn't start, he kind of helped ignite the conflict we have right now.
I think by removing all of those funds, I think that's going to shift the agenda more to the. It's going to more to the right because they're not going to be able to push their agenda so hard. So their agenda has to change, right? And what's so funny about like Nancy Pelosi, like there are videos right now that are now circulating where they're showing. Did you see this one? Nancy Pelosi's in front of a little display where she's showing all the tariffs that the United States. This is back in like the 80s and 90s. She's complaining about how all of these other countries are charging us tariffs and we're being treated unfairly, and 10 million jobs have moved to China. And she's going on, she's saying the same thing Trump's saying, how she's saying we have to fix this.
You gotta love video recordings.
Right. And what's so funny is that it's like, okay, Nancy, 20 years ago,
you were gung-ho.
Actually about 30 years ago, you sound exactly like Trump.
That other
And
video
now-
too, like when they show like Obama talking about
Of course,
migration and all that.
That's what bothers me is that people are so polarized that they say, hey, if you took 30 things about either way, let's say Nancy Pelosi, or you just the left and the right, and you took 30 things and you said, look, we agree with a lot of these and how to go about them, but these 4 things or 5 things we disagree at, and now you hate this person 100%, and you're even willing to vote against even the common things that you have in general. You're voting against things that you have both believe in. Like it's
crazy, man.
It's insanity.
I'm so sick of it. And to me, I feel like it's just all bullshit. I really do at this point. I feel like they will say whatever they need to say, bro, just to get
just to stay in power, just to get in
They
power.
don't care. I think a guy that's really left will run as right just because that demographic is more tend to voting towards the right. So they're really a left-leaning person that's in the right position, and you definitely can't put the genie back in the bottle. There's a ton of issues that no matter who gets in office, no matter what they try to do, I don't think Epstein's ever going away. People want the truth because if we get to the bottom of that, we can figure out who's been manipulating our politicians. That's number one. Number two, the amount of corruption that's been uncovered as far as money, monetary policy, where all this money's been going, from condoms in Palestine to, bro, it's just crazy. And when I think about how much taxes we pay as Americans,
Yeah, it's nuts.
our ancestors would have done a Boston Tea Party, a New York Tea Party, a Miami Tea Party, a Los Angeles Tea Party. They would have went to town for a 2.5% tax increase. Income taxes are out of control. The entire system needs to be overhauled. This is not what our founding forefathers fought for. Okay? I'm a libertarian for the record. For those of you that think, he's far right. No, I'm a libertarian. I want the government small. Stay out of my business. Pursue your happiness. You want to fucking do it in your bedroom? Do what you want to do. I don't agree with it at all, spiritually. But as an American, you have that right. Go do it. Leave me and my fucking kids alone. Have a nice day. How hard is that, bro?
Well, okay. First, I think that I'm a big believer in the Constitution, and obviously it's a living document, right? Like it's able to be changed and altered, right? Like that's why it's survived. It's the longest Constitution in existence because it's able to be altered and changed as society changes. As far as taxes, I get it. There was a Boston Tea Party. The British wanted to tax tea. No, not tea. I'm sorry. They wanted to tax the colony, 2.5%, something like that, like you're saying. And so what did they do? They went and they grabbed the tea and they dumped it into the harbor. The harbor. Which is so funny because I have a story about that. Can I tell you the story?
About tea in the Boston Harbor?
You're not going to believe this. Listen.
Let's go.
This is how stupid. And I feel bad because it's probably not his fault. Right? He's probably he wasn't mentally challenged. He was just an idiot. He was just uneducated, right? Like there was a guy in prison. There's tons of these guys in prison. I give you an example. This is the kind of thing would happen. So you don't have Google in prison. What you have is ask a white guy. That's what the black guys and Hispanics guys, they'd be like, they get into a discussion. They go, well, where's a white guy? That was their Google. Ask a white guy. So one time I remember we were watching
It's
Noah.
hilarious what you just said. I'm just processing.
We're watching Noah.
They're like, yo, ask the white boy, yo.
Yeah.
Huh?
We're watching Noah, the movie Noah. With
Noah of the Ark, peace be upon him.
what was his name? Who did?
Do you believe in Noah of the Ark?
What?
I'm not going to take you off on a tangent, but do you? You don't? Okay.
Do I believe in it? I mean,
you know that every single ancient civilization has that story.
I understand. That's what I think.
Even not Abrahamic faiths. But
I understand. That's what I'm saying. I think it's that story. I think a lot of the stories in the Bible were passed down, and they became this document, right? But and I'm absolutely I was raised Catholic. I'm Christian, and I believe that this country was founded on Christian principles, and I believe in the nuclear family. Like I think that's the backbone of Western society, and it bothers me that we've gotten away from
morality.
Yes. So I don't think morality or in general is exclusive to Christianity.
No, I don't. But it has morality built into it.
Yes. Man. But so put that aside. Okay. So back to we're watching Noah and Ark. What was the guy's name? Who plays in Noah?
The guy that played in Gladiator, man.
Yeah,
Russell Crowe.
Thank you.
Today's the day of Russells.
Right. So Russell Crowe, we're watching the channel, and then there would be, so let's say there's 15, more like 20, 25 guys in a room that's not much bigger than from like the wall here. So it'd be putting 25 guys into chairs. There's a door over there, and the flat screen's up here. Flat screen's not that big, about this big. And we're all sitting there watching, and this guy in front of me, I'm going to say black guy. I'm just pointing it out. I don't know. It's nothing racial, but black guy. Oh, I wish I knew it. I could remember his name. And I know a guy that has seen him and sees him all the time, by the way. He told me, I see so-and-so all the time, and I can't remember his name. Anyway, point is, he's watching this, right? And so as he's watching, at some point, the stowaways on the ark, the guy reaches into a cage and he eats one of the creatures. He bites his head off and he eats it. And Noah's son is like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, we need them.
He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "What? I'm hungry." He's like, "I'm starving down here." He's well, you can't kill that. You just killed one of God's creatures. And he said, "So?" And he's like, "So what?" He's like, "You just wiped it out."
Yeah, extinct.
It's now extinct because you just killed the male or the female. And so the guy in front of me goes, "How come he say that, Cox? Cox, how come he say that? Why he say that?" And I looked at him, I said, "Well, because they only were able to bring, keep in mind too,
a pair, male and female."
I know that you know.
Yeah.
You want to hear the story?
Yeah.
Okay. So
what do you say, Cox?
Yeah, exactly. So you have to think that if somebody were to say that to me now, there would be a moment of hesitation, like, you're joking, right? But I've been programmed to understand that the majority of the guys in there don't know anything. So you don't mock them because this is the same guy. This is the same guy that if I mocked him, like, are you fucking joking? Like, he might jump up and fucking run up and just start smashing on me. So you don't say that. What you do is act like it's a normal question, right? That's just a normal question. Of course you don't understand. Not everybody does. Let me explain it to you. So he goes, how come he say that, Cox? How come he say that? And I went, well, I said, because they were only had so much space. So when they brought all the creatures of the earth on the ark, there's 25 guys there leaning in. Like E.F. Hutton is speaking. And I said, they were only able to bring a male and a female. I said, if you killed the male or the female, I said, that wipes out. I said, there's no way to reproduce that species. I said, so he just ate like the male, whatever that thing was he just ate. I said, so that's it. It's over.
That son of a bitch probably ate a creature that's related to the turkey that would have been like delicious. And because of him today, there's no boar's head of whatever that creature would have been. Thanks, dude, on the ark.
So anyway, he said, he goes, what do you mean? And of course I'm explaining this to the guy. I realized like, God, this guy's so stupid. And I looked at him and I said, that's what happened to the unicorns. And he goes, yeah. I said, yeah. I said, prior to nobody in the room says anything. Nobody. So, I said, yeah. I said they weren't able to get a male and a female unicorn on the ark. I said, and as a result of that, I said, there's no more unicorns. And he looked at me.
But it's just the way you do his impersonation.
And he's like, yeah. He's like, I heard that. I said, yeah, unicorns used to be as prevalent as horses. And he's like, yeah, I heard that. I said, yeah. And he turned around and started looking, and I'm waiting. I'm looking around, and I mean, there are guys in the room who are kind of like looking at me like they kind of think, is Cox bullshitting, or is he true? And I watched the rest of the fucking show, and so I say that because here's the Boston Tea Party. Same guy, by the way, same guy. One day we're sitting there. Oh wait. Oh, I take that back because this was a different guy. I remember this guy. This guy they called Flea. Boziak knew Flea. So Flea, by the way, was probably 5'3" and probably weighed 130 pounds and pretty much got into a fight every 2 weeks. He had a major attitude. So, but I wouldn't mind mouthing off to Flea, by the way, because I felt like I could take him. He was tiny. He was a scrappy little guy, but he weighed $130. So anyway. But anyway, it's not that I ever caused any trouble because he was funny. But anyway, and it's funny too. You know what's so funny about him is he actually gave me, listen to this. This is some prison shit. I used to get like, is it called rosacea, where you get red?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I still do. You'll get like a red spot.
Yeah,
like if you,
I get it once in a while.
Yeah. So you know what? So I went to the doctor in prison, and I go there. You know, you put in your cop out. You wait 2 weeks to be put on the list. I get there and I say, man, I got this thing. And when I was out, before I was in prison, I actually got like a cream and had like a steroid in it. You rubbed it on there like twice a week and you never got it. But of course, this would happen every once in a while. And so they gave me a cream and I explained to him it has a steroid. He goes, well, and the doctor punches it in and says, well, this will work. And he gives me a cream and I shit you not, it made it worse. Like it would burn me. And so I tried this for like a month or two, and I'm walking around with a big red ass spot every time I put this cream, and I'm irritated about it. And so one day, somebody's like, "Bro, what's up with your face, man? What's going on?" I go, man, I got rosacea. I explained the whole thing, and Flea looks at me and goes, "Yeah, I get that all the time too." And I said, "Well, what did you get for it?" And he goes, "I put Head and Shoulders on it. If you put Head and Shoulders on those spots and just let it sit there for like a minute or two," he said, "once or twice a week," he said, "it'll go away." And he said, "You'll be fine."
And
keep in mind, Flea, I don't think Flea had like a 90 IQ.
Did it work?
The point is that I remember looking at Flea thinking, what a fucking idiot. So I don't do it. A couple weeks go by, he goes, "Man, why don't you just put the fucking, put the Head and Shoulders on it?" And I'm like these are guys that they'll like put Vicks in hot water and drink it. Like they're idiots. Like they're completely insane. And I'm like, and so one day I finally went, he said, "What do you got to lose, bro?" And I'm like,
he had a point.
He had a point. And I was like, fuck. So I do it for about a week or two. My shit completely goes away. I do it to this day. If I don't do this 2 or 3 times, twice a week.
Because it has like antifungal and that type of stuff in it.
Yeah, it closes up your whatever. Yeah, he was right. And I'm not putting steroid on my face.
He owes you, bro.
Yeah, I do. The Flea was good. It was good advice.
Commissary,
he was insane. So here's the other thing with Flea. You're going to love this. So one day, a commercial comes on, and they've got a bunch of Indian or a bunch of colonists that dress up as Indians, and they rush onto a boat, and they're throwing the tea, you know, they're big wooden crates full of tea, or they're barrels, right? They're throwing barrels and crates, everything into the Boston Harbor, and then so the commercial does a quick 15 or probably a 10-second depiction of the Boston Tea Party, and of course Flea doesn't have a clue what this means, right? And so as we're watching it, he says, "What's going on? What is that?" And he goes, "Cox, what are they doing? What is that with the Indians? Are those? What are they doing?" And I said, "It's the Boston Tea Party. They're just they're just showing the Boston Tea Party." "What's that?" I said, when we were a colony, I said the British were trying to tax the colonists, and they put a tax on tea because we drank a lot of tea. I said, and as a result of that, I said, in protest, the colonists dressed up as Indians, broke into several ships, and threw all the tea overboard. I said, honestly, to this day, so I say they threw the tea overboard in protest. And I said, which is one of the reasons that we don't drink tea in the United States, we drink coffee. We basically switched to coffee, I said, in a protest. I said, which is why if you go pretty much anywhere in the world, they all drink tea. They all drink tea.
Is that the reason we're such heavy coffee drinkers?
Supposedly.
It makes sense.
Right. So here's the thing. And I said, and so he's like, "Oh, okay." He goes, "That," and I said that, and he goes, "That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense." And I'm sitting there and thinking, how far can I push this? And I looked at him, I said, as a matter of fact, bro, I said, they threw so much tea into the Boston Harbor. I said, the barrels to this day are still giving off. Now keep in mind, Red Bull, there's a guy his name was Andrew Levinson, is in the room. He's a smart guy. This is a college educated. He's a con man, very educated, very smart guy. He's sitting there. And I said, I said, the barrels are still giving off tea. I said, it's still excreting tea into the Boston Harbor. I said, which is funny because I said, have you ever drank Snapple? And he goes, yeah. I said, so Snapple bottles, I said, Snapple bought the rights to the water in the Boston Harbor. I said, and they bottle it and sell it as Snapple. I said, and if you look at the Snapple, I said, you can see the flakes of the tea in the Snapple. I said, and he goes, yeah, you got to shake it up. I said, right. I said, that's actually from the Boston Harbor. I said, if you look at Snapple, I said, the logo on Snapple, I said, is an Indian. I said, it's actually a colonist dressed as an Indian, but it just looks like an Indian. He goes, dang, man, I didn't know that. I said, yeah. And he turned around, and I sat there for a minute, and I remember looking over at Andrew Levinson, and he's looking at me like he's staring at me. And so we walk out of there 20 minutes later. We both end up walking out to go to our Be Counted or something. We both walked out, and he said, I can't fucking believe you came up with just that quick. And he sat there, he said, that was great. He said, that was great. He goes, especially, he says, since the Boston Harbor, he said, is probably one of the most polluted harbors in all of America. He said, and you've got this guy. I said, bro, they believe anything. They believe anything. Anything you tell them, they believe.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Ask a white guy.
AKA jail Google.
So yeah. So Snapple is actually bottled from the water
source Boston Harbor,
from the Boston Harbor, and the tea in it is actually being excreted from the original tea that was thrown overboard by the colonists. Amazing.
It's crazy though when you think about our history and how much we take today as Americans, man. I wish we could be a little bit more like those first colonists.
Well, I think here's the thing, like we were talking about the Constitution, it is a living body, and there do need to be amendments. But the other thing is
encapsulate tech.
But the other thing is too, you have to understand that back then, right? Like, how long did it take for ships to go months to get here, right? So colonists could put together a military that could basically fight another military. Once they saw them coming, within days, everybody had guns. You could put it together, and they could actually fight. So some of the taxation things I understand, right? I understand you have to tax more. Why? Because there's a lot more to protect. And weapons have like a bunch of colonists are not going to fight a navy. Like we're not going to be able to, if we were being charged 2 or 3%. And I'm not saying I want to pay a lot of taxes. I hate paying taxes. But like sometimes you say, Jesus, we're being charged 15, 20, 30%, and we're being taxed over and over again for the same money, right? Like you pay your income tax, and then I go to buy this and I get taxed again. And then the money that these people make, they have to pay the taxes on that. And then the employees that they pay.
It's crazy.
Like people don't realize
it should just be a tariff-based system, and I agree. That's what it should be.
Right, but it's
only on what you buy.
But here's the problem is that Americans in general
shouldn't be paying tax on your land.
They don't want to. Yeah, I agree with that. That's
bullshit.
There's lots of taxes that are ridiculous. But here's what happens with Americans and the tariffs. Americans want quick, easy solutions to complex problems that don't hit their pocketbooks. And the reason everybody's so upset about the tariffs with Trump is that what they're saying is, you're now going to have to pay more for a soda. I understand you're going to have to pay more, and it's going to hurt for a year or so. And look, it doesn't matter because France and England, the UK,
they're the most taxed, bro.
Well, but
go have dinner in Germany, bro.
Okay, but they're all
crazy.
What I'm saying is, Canada, everybody, Mexico, they're already throwing in the towel. And so everybody's like, "Oh, it's going to destroy America." Stop it. They're already giving concessions. They're already giving concessions. They're already saying, "Okay, we'll do this." They're already negotiating. So the fact that everybody thinks it's going to destroy the country, it's not going to destroy the country. It's a ploy, and these other
not having them has destroyed our country.
Right. Well, and then
go to Germany. All you see is Benzes and Beamers, Matt Cox.
And then you say, "Hey, wait a minute. Canada's going to do this." Man, 75% of Canada's output is being bought by Americans. They don't have a choice. Like they could bitch and moan and complain, but in 3 months everything's getting shut off. You're not paying anybody. Your country is destitute in 3 months. So of course they're going to comply. They're going to bitch and moan. You have to look good for your people. My problem is that I don't mind paying an extra 25% for this. If in the end it brings back manufacturing jobs that rebuilds our middle class, which is gone. Right now in the United States, you have two parties. You have the haves and you got the have-nots.
It's the middle.
That's it. The middle class has shrunk to almost nothing. And which party was responsible? Which politicians? It's irrelevant.
All of them. Over the last 50 years.
It's really irrelevant. It's how do you fix this? The problem is, here's what bothers me, is that the left doesn't want the Republicans to be the ones to fix it. They don't want that. The last time that happened, when they saw the Republicans were doing something, which was when the Republicans wanted to, 1, stop slavery, and 2, give blacks the vote. That was all Republicans. So you know what they did?
I know that.
They conscripted that. When they saw it wasn't going their way and they were fighting against it, finally, you know what they did? They said, you know what let's do? Let's conscript this. Let's make this our own. And they did it successfully. To this day, I have buddies who are black who come on the show and I talk to them. They'll tell you Martin Luther King was a Democrat.
No,
he was a Republican.
He was a
They'll
Republican.
tell you across the board that they have no idea how they got into the situation that they're in. They blame Republicans for everything negative.
That's crazy.
It's the same thing. And these are growing pains. Is it going to be tough? Yeah. Do I mind paying a little bit more for eggs? No, I don't. If in the end it's what is good for the United States, and I don't really care who fixes that problem. And here's what bothers me is that all these other presidents could have fixed it. The difference is Trump doesn't give a shit if he doesn't need a third term. Or he doesn't. I don't think he has the ability to get a third term, but we can talk about that. But what I think is that he doesn't give a shit if you like him. Do you see what I'm saying? He doesn't give a fuck. He's already filthy rich. He doesn't care.
Countries like him though.
Oh, I mean, he may care if certain countries.
They got a nice hold on his ass. America first, my ass, bro.
You keep going back to
America first, my ass, bro.
You keep going back to
America first, my ass.
It's like if there's 50 things that he does right, and there's one thing that you disagree with, you're sitting here saying he's a horrible person.
I supported him publicly. I supported him publicly.
This is public.
Yeah, I'm saying I've supported that. There was no other option last election. There was no other choice. But the bottom line is there's certain groups and certain this that have control of both sides, and that's a fucking fact.
What do you think about? Have you heard this? The third term, the Trump running for a third term. Have you heard this?
No.
You haven't heard that?
I've
Like
seen,
Bannon's talking about it. Like they're talking about like it depends on your interpretation of the whatever. It wasn't even an amendment. It's written. I don't know if it's amendment or it's just written in. Oh, it is an amendment. I believe it's amendment. What can you look that up? Because I'm a complete idiot. I don't know if it's an amendment or not. How many terms can the president run? Which first it already bothers me that if you're a congressman you can run for life. That's
crazy.
Bullshit.
Yeah, that's
they should all be limited.
That's the first thing that needs to be changed.
They should all be limited on
and
terms.
lobbying illegal.
Lobbying should be illegal.
And 70% of our problems disappear overnight. Those two things.
Those two things and things would drastically change.
Says, 22nd Amendment, two-term limit on presidency is what the first article came
Okay,
out.
22nd Amendment?
Yeah.
So 22nd Amendment says that a president can only run for 2 terms, right? Or serve 2 terms. Here's the thing. And Bannon and a bunch of these other conservative right-wing guys are now going in and saying, hey, it really depends on how you interpret the amendment. Maybe he can run for a 3rd term. Is it 2 consecutive terms? Because he hasn't run 2 consecutive terms. So they're talking about trying to make the argument that it's possible that Trump could run for a 3rd term.
Who made the amendment to begin with? Why couldn't it? If a president, see, I think it's backwards. Senate and them should have terms. And if the president's amazing, the people want to keep voting him in, why not? If we keep
the concern is that he becomes
a dictator.
He becomes
which they all are, anyway.
Which so I agree with limits, like maybe 3. I think 3 would be reasonable.
Max.
Yeah, 3 or 4 max. Yeah. There needs to be a maximum. Like you can't get these guys because first of all, they get in there and they get their hands in everything. And how do you get rid of them?
Or I just shouldn't be I think it would be better just not consecutive. Because if someone's really good and let's say the next guy goes in and fucks everything up that the last one, then he can come back and fix it again.
Maybe.
You know, people say,
what's the name of the guy, the Roman
Caesar?
No. The Roman general that was
Marcus Aurelius.
My God. The Roman general that they
we did this last time.
Yeah.
Lucius Quintius Sinicidius or something like that.
Yeah. You ever heard that story? Like it's so Lucius. Let's go with General Lucius.
Yeah.
Lucius was a famous general that retires. He gets older and he's fought in a bunch of wars and he's won a bunch of wars or battles or whatever for Rome, and he retires. He goes to his farm, which is what they all wanted, right? They just want to be farmers. So he goes back to his farm and he's farming. Well, Rome starts to fall apart over the next decade or so. And they don't know what to do. And I believe that it's like the barbarians or somebody's at the gates,
north,
right?
Yeah.
The barbarians are at the gate, right? And they don't know what to do. And the Senate can't make a decision. And so they go to him and they say, listen, we're begging you to come and lead the army or lead the military so that you're a great general. We know you can save us. And he says, and they say, if you do this, we'll allow you to be Caesar, right? The king. And so they give him that power. And he says, I'll take the power. I'll do this. But you have to give me the power. So they say, you're now Caesar. Great. So he's a dictator. He goes in, he's emperor, whatever, Caesar, whatever you call it. So he goes in, he gathers together a bunch of other generals. They put together armies. They destroy the barbarians, whoever's there. I don't know who it is. But whatever, they destroy the other one. They come back and they assume he'll continue to reign. And what he does is he gives back the power to the Senate and he goes back. And the famous thing is that he's got like a hoe, right? Like he's tilling the soil. When they come to him and beg him, he puts the hoe or the spear, whatever it is, puts it into the ground and he walks off. He goes, he saves Rome. They say, you're now for life, you're Caesar. And he says, I'm giving the power back to the Senate. He goes back to his farm, picks up his hoe where it was, and he starts tilling the ground because he didn't want that power.
Anyone that's smart wouldn't want that power.
Right.
Okay, that responsibility. And especially if you're spiritual and you believe in the higher power, I think one of the most brilliant people that you could ever read about their life is Omar Il-Khattab.
I don't know, who's that?
You read about this guy's life, bro. What an amazing human being this man was, bro. So he was the second in command after the death of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He never wanted power. When Abu Bakr, which was the first king of the Muslims, because remember, under Islam, the Arabs went from a people that no one knew about. They were like the joke of the world to they dominated the world, right? These are the people that brought us algebra. These are the people that really advanced a lot of things when you study about it, even though history doesn't do it justice when you learn history here, home, right? The reason people wear caps and gowns in college is from the word alim, which means scholar. It's an Arabic word. And that cap and gown is how the Muslims dress, right? It meant you were someone that was educated, someone that was a scholar. Omar al-Khattab is a man who was in charge. And what happened was before he got the power, they forced him. He didn't want it.
Right.
He didn't want it because from the spiritual perspective, this is what Muslims believe, and Christians in some way, that when you are given power, even though you think you may win it or you got voted in or whatever, it's God that allows you to have that power. And that power is actually a test from the Creator. And every single decision you make on behalf of every living creature that is within your control, you will answer to God to on that day, because it comes with a responsibility. So Omar, being as devout as he was as a Muslim, never wanted the power. So they told him, either you take it, you take the throne, or we're going to leave the Muslims without a king. And they forced him. For nights, he would stay up praying, begging God to forgive him if a dog died of thirst on his watch. A dog. Now imagine how he treated his subjects. And he did. He would stay up all night circling the city to make sure everyone had what they needed. He was just. They always talk about the tension between Muslims and Jews. That's a fallacy. That's bullshit. The tension has always been between Christians and Jews, not Muslims and Jews. The Muslims always gave safe refuge to the Jews, and they should be ashamed of themselves a little bit. They should go dig their history. And there's a story in the tradition of Omar. One of his governors, right, a Muslim, a governor, supposedly mistreated one of the Jewish citizens. So that Jewish citizen went to go see the king, Omar al-Khattab. This is a man who dressed like a bum. He had just defeated Persia and conquered Jerusalem without war, by the way. The Muslims never spilled blood to conquer Jerusalem. I don't know if you know this. The Jews and the Christians were wiping each other out, and the Muslims came to the gates and said, listen, we'll take control. All of you can practice your faith. I don't know if you know the history. The only time that all three religions ever practiced in peace on that land is when Muslims had control of Jerusalem. You can chat GBT it all you want, folks. I'm giving you the cliff notes. Then the Crusades started. The white boys in Europe wanted to reconquer the Holy Land. It was all about business and money, let's be real. They massacred anyone that wasn't Christian. Then Salahuddin came, reconquered Jerusalem. The movie Kingdom of Heaven with Orlando Bloom.
Yeah.
In the last scene, he's like, I will allow you to all leave. He's like, why would you? When we conquered, the Christians conquered, we massacred every man, woman, and child within the city's gates. And Salahuddin famously said, we are not like those men, meaning this is not Islam, right? People don't know this history. They've been programmed for 30 years. Where am I going with all this? Omar al-Khattab was such a righteous leader. The Jewish citizen came and said, your governor hit me in public and made a fool of me, like hit him. This is from the inception of Islam. We're talking 50 to 60 years after the life of the Prophet Muhammad. He tells his people, bring me the governor of that province. Brings him. Did you do such and such to this Jewish citizen of ours? He said, yes. Give him the stick. He gives the stick to the Jew. Hit him in front of the whole entire audience, the whole crew. That's justice. That's righteousness. That's a leader who slept on the floors of his mosque, who didn't wear extravagant gold and crowns and all this shit, right? This is a man that really cared about his people and treated people fairly. And he didn't do what? He didn't seek power. The Prophet Muhammad said, beware of those who seek power, because a righteous leader doesn't need to seek it. The people know that he's righteous or she's righteous. And he's a beautiful example. I mean, honestly, people should read about this man's life. He was amazing, bro. And then he was assassinated by a Persian. That's how he died. In prayer, actually. He was praying and he was knifed to death. But it's a fascinating life. He'd be sleeping on the floors of his, where he would hang out. Looked like a fucking bum, bro. He's in charge of the most powerful empire on the earth at the time. And they would send ambassadors from all over the world. Like, we're here to meet the caliphate, or the Khalifa, as they call it. We're here to meet the caliphate, Omar. They're like, he's right there. They're like, that fucking old man dressed like a bum is the king of the Muslims? They're like, yes. They go, we want to be of this faith. That's your king? That's how humble he is? I don't think there's a righteous leader on the earth I think the ones that we have are in positions that they've been placed in. I think anyone that's righteous, sooner or later, they have an airplane crash, car accident, or someone whacks them, bro. I don't know if the heart attack gun is real. People claim it's real. I don't know. That's what I think happens to the righteous on this earth. I think humanity's in trouble. I think the only blessing that has truly come out of the Trump era is that a lot of you have woken up to really how evil this world is, really how some policies make absolutely no sense, especially for America, and America's still not first. I promise you. Pray for our country, man.
Oh, my God.
Pray for our nation.
Oh, boy. Okay. All right.
Free Russell Brand, man. As I was driving here, I'm getting pinged all over my Instagram, all over YouTube. Russell Brand was just arrested and is being accused of committing physical crimes against women in the UK. I got to tell you, I was expecting this to happen to him. He's been very political over the last few years. Okay, this guy's done a complete 180 with his life. I believe what's happening to him is the same thing that happened to Andrew Tate or anyone that speaks publicly against certain policies, certain foreign policies, whoever's really speaking out against, what many would classify as the agendas of the left. I'm not surprised at all. And I think that most of these allegations will be bogus. The other problem I have with all this, Matt, and as someone that's gone through the criminal system yourself, I find it really crazy that crimes that were committed 20, 30 years ago, supposedly, allegedly, that there's that type of statute of limitations. I'm really starting to feel that because I think it used to be like 7 years before you had to report that type of crime if you were, a woman or a man or something like that happened to you.
And that you could be charged.
Yeah, that you could be charged. 20 years, 30 years. It really seems to me like they've shifted these laws. Now, I know some of it had to do with what happened in the church and all that stuff. They were giving them more time. People that were children that never came forward because of what happened to them from clergy and stuff like that. Big scandal just happened in the UK, by the way. You think that would be bigger news, that the Anglican Church bishop resigned for covering up what was happening, just like what happened in the Roman Catholic Church. But meanwhile, they're going to, galvanize this whole story here with him. I 100% believe Russell Brand his character is being assassinated. They're coming after him because his show is very Christian-like now. He's had, he's talked about a lot what's gone on since 2019 with the shutdown, with certain individuals on airplanes and islands and politicians and lists. And I think most of us can agree and probably do believe that there's nothing. These are just frivolous charges, just like they did with Andrew Tate, because he's still not convicted of anything. And this is breaking, man, as soon as I came here. But what do you think, man? I mean, his podcast is one of the top for, I guess you would call far-right audience.
Right. I mean, I've seen all of a 2-minute clip, so I'm an expert.
I have a question. Has this been going on? Like, has this something that the public has already known about? That's kind of.
Or is this the first time you've heard of it? Yeah.
It's not first time. They brought up some of this about a year ago, and he had to come out and say, "Listen, they're trying to attack me right now. I've never done anything inappropriate." I'm sure he's done things that are inappropriate. Let's be real.
Yeah.
This guy,
he's a drug addict.
If you don't remember him in MTV early 2000s, this guy was literally, you could tell he's not sober. He's on every drug there is, drinking. He had women all over him. He was married to Katy Perry for a while, who I think is nothing short of demonic, in my opinion. I think Katy Perry is so far gone demonic. I know you think I'm crazy for thinking that, but there's a lot to it.
I don't really know anything about Katy Perry, but
she made a song called "The Dark Horse," and in that song is basically a chant to Satan, literally to the devil himself. It's about black magic.
I thought she was a pop star.
She was a pop star. What's funny about her is her career started in gospel music. She was actually very spiritual. Mm-hmm. And there's even a video clip of her that if you guys go and search, she's being interviewed and she's like, they're asking like, well, why did you leave gospel? She's like, well, I guess I sold my soul to the devil. And she gives like this weird look. That song, "The Dark Horse," is literally talking and singing and praising the demonic realm, Satan himself. Why? She's dressed like Pharaoh of ancient Egypt who practices black magic. And in the original version of the video, there's a man wearing one eye patch, which in Islam, they believe that the Antichrist will have only one eye, physically one eye. He'll have two eyes, but one eye's damaged in Islam's version of Armageddon, right? Okay. in this music video, if you guys all go watch it and listen to it, you'll see a man with an eye patch approaching her while she's on a throne impersonating the Pharaoh of Egypt, which is one of the most hated people spiritually by God, period, is Pharaoh. Because he's a man that said, I am God on earth, even though he saw the miracles that Moses brought, right? Make the story short, this man approaches in the video and she goes, I'm coming at you like a dark horse. And she goes like this, like, do you believe in magic? She's praising black magic, okay, in that video. She zaps this guy with the eye patch with black magic. Around his neck are a lot of gold chains and jewelry. One of the chains in the original edit of the video actually had the word Allah in Arabic on it. So she zaps this man and he completely dissolves into sand. So the Muslims freeze frame and realize, why would they have the Allah chain, which we believe is universal word for God in Arabic, Aramaic, Hebrew. And again, I know this is off the tangent, but it's related to Russell Brand. I think part of the reason he left her is because I think he has become a reborn Christian.
Right, well, he said it many, many times. So
he seems to have changed his song and dance. He seems a lot more humble. I think just a short while ago, he did, rebaptizing, right, to redeclare his faith. And I think that this man is, not proud of his past. I think he's, now the question comes, did he actually commit forceful acts? I've been around celebrities my whole life. Now, did he hang out with Diddy here and there? Yeah, he did. He went to a lot of Diddy events. But can we say for sure that he didn't really have, listen, brother, I've been in the nightlife my whole life. I'm friends with some of the biggest celebrities on earth, even right now. I'm friends with some of the biggest DJs in the world, okay? And these women throw themselves at them, bro. Like, I don't care anyone. They don't need to. I'm not saying that there hasn't been celebrities that have. But if we're just going surface level, brother, there's a line out there door every single time. I've been in the dressing room where they're literally just walking in, going into the bathroom of the dressing room, one girl at a time, I swear to God. And I would sit there and I would honestly, bro, I know some of my friends might laugh at me now, knowing me from when I was younger. And I was just so disgusted. It's like, because this person's famous, you just want to go and be demoralized, in my opinion, for a couple of minutes, literally in the floor of a bathroom of a dressing room, and then walk out, and you meant nothing to them. You meant zero to this celebrity. I don't get it. So from surface level, Russell Brand, in my opinion, never needed to physically assault or force any woman, because I promise you, and he was, considerably, very well dressed and famous and considered handsome. I don't think he needed, Matt, to forcefully grab a woman. What I got a problem with is this whole 20, 30 year thing. The 90s, what took you so long? And then people say, well, it took them. No, I think is the fact that he's very controversial now. He's talking against certain policies, agendas, free speech, all this stuff. The timing of it. I think people are not paying attention to the context of when these things are happening. This is 100% an assassination attempt on his character. And as far as the UK is concerned, they've already gone into Orwellian territory. Remember, these charges are from the UK.
Mm-hmm. And these allegations are 1999 to 2005.
Come on, bro. Come on. I'm asking you, as someone that's served in time and crimes and all that, do you think it's right 25 years later that you're coming for it? Really? How are you going to prove anything?
I think
it's your word against theirs.
Well,
there's no DNA. There's nothing.
Well, first of all, we don't know what there is. You don't know what there is. But and I think, and I personally always have a problem when you accuse someone of something and the news comes out immediately and starts acting like you're guilty just because I've been accused. And it doesn't matter how many times DNA lets somebody out on death row or lets someone out who was arrested for some kind of a crime, against women 15 years later. And they went to trial. They've always said they didn't do it. The victim got on the stand and said, absolutely, he was the guy. And then 15 years later, the guy gets 20 years. 15 years later, the Innocence Project comes in with DNA that says, no, it wasn't him. And then the woman's like, God, I really thought it was him. Like that
destroyed his life. Right?
One of the worst, and I'm not blaming that woman necessarily, but you said 100% you were positive. You weren't 100% positive, or you were wrong. And the prosecutors should know, and they really do know. They know that eyewitness testimony is extremely questionable, right? Like, it doesn't matter. A guy could be 15 feet away. Your adrenaline spikes. You can't remember what this person looks like.
It's dark. It's this. Yeah. It's that. You're in danger. Maybe
2-3 seconds. You saw this person for 2-3 seconds. Even if it's one of these sexual allegations where the person was clearly there. you think, okay, well, they were there. They were there for spent 5 or 10 minutes with this person. Okay, but the DNA says it's not them. You insisted it was them. So that should let you know right there. And it's not like, oh yeah, there's 4 cases. No, there's hundreds of cases where this is untrue. And as soon as you're accused of something, the media jumps on it, especially if they don't like you. If the media dislikes someone, then they jump on it and they drive it home. And really almost, I don't even know if they realize this, but if that person now goes to trial, they've poisoned the jury pool. The jury pool's poisoned, and we've already seen that judges out there can't be trusted. You know, they're making up reasons to indict people, to find people guilty. And a judge can sway well, not only a jury, but they can sway a trial, right? So the problem is being accused of something that's 20. So that's one issue. The other issue for me is 25 years ago, bro. Dear God, please don't judge me based on my behavior 25 years ago. And I know that these women don't want to be judged on their behavior 25 years ago. Like nobody wants to be judged on their behavior as a 20-year-old or 25-year-old or whatever. Like the truth is that anybody in general is a completely different person in their 50s as they were in their 20s or their 40s. Like 25 years. That's why you have a statute of limitations, because you have a certain period of time to bring charges, and that person has changed, right? Even federally, in the federal court system, they'll say that they now have to take into consideration how someone has changed between the time that they committed the crime and the time they actually are sentenced. They may, sometimes it's years, 5, 10 years. They may have changed their entire life. You have to take that into consideration. So let's assume for a second, maybe he's partially guilty, right? If you said he was partially guilty, it's still 25 years. He's certainly not the same person he was. You can't throw this guy into prison for 5 or 10 or 15 years.
No other charges, nothing ever done, no previous history probably.
The problem.
You know?
Based on what? On 1 or 2 women's, their word alone, on their testimony alone. And keep in mind too, initially, let's say one of these women came forward 10 years ago, 15 years. Once he became a big time star, right? They came forward. And they don't want to do anything because it's your word against his. What may have happened is now they've got 3 or 4 women jumping on the bandwagon. You see what I'm saying? Because
Andrew Tate had a ton of them. Where are they?
Right. Well, that's the problem. When it all comes down to it and they start looking into it, the stories fall apart very quickly.
Let me ask you this, though. Do you not think that there are people who would weaponize these types of scenarios to try and silence opposition? Do you think that there's a chance that there can be people who are out there that would pay women to come forward and make these stories up just to try to rattle people that might be opposed to them politically? Would you rule that out?
What's the judge? I can't believe I used to know his name. He's a black judge on the Supreme Court. Clarence Thomas. What happened to Clarence Thomas? That woman, it was decades earlier. She never told anybody she ever had a problem. Suddenly, he's going to be placed on the bench. She's a liberal. He's a conservative. She decides to make up charges or make up allegations that he was inappropriate 25 years ago when they were at the same law firm or something. It's like, you never mentioned this at the time. You've never mentioned it since. Now you don't want this guy to be on the Supreme Court, and now you come up with these allegations. Didn't stop him. Almost did, by the way. He specifically said he thought many, many times about dropping out simply because of the allegations. I don't want to sit here and be judged based on this woman's word from something that she says happened 20 years ago, and I'm being grilled. And it's not just him. He probably could care less about him, right? Most guys are pretty much
family.
Yeah, I've got kids. I got a wife who's done nothing wrong. Now her friends are calling her. People are accusing her of things. They're saying that I'm this predator, and it's all because of some political affiliation or some political ideology, that we have a difference in ideology, and therefore you're going to attack me. You're going to make things up. It's like these idiots that are going around keying and kicking and setting on fire Teslas.
But they were loving them 5 years ago.
You loved them 5 or 10 years ago.
It's crazy.
Not just that. You're not hurting necessarily. I mean, not that the stock hasn't taken a dump, but you're kicking cars that are 90% owned by other liberals.
Probably by left, 100%. I don't own one. I would never buy one.
It's just stupid.
I don't even fit in a Tesla, bro. So The UK, in my opinion, has gone off the deep end. I hope that people of the
Well,
UK.
it's the same thing. They're also charging Andrew Tate for the same type of thing that happened 15 years ago that you already decided you couldn't charge him with. But now you're charging him 15 years later. Whether it's true or not, come on, man. Like
it's pretty obvious, and I think all they're doing is making more and more people wake up, in my opinion, that if you speak out against what's coming, if you speak out against the system, they're coming after you with whatever they can. I truly believe this in Russell Brand's case. What I have a problem with is the UK.
Well, but they loved him. They loved him. They lived him 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago when he was completely left and a drug addict, when he was a complete scoundrel, right?
And he was a womanizer. I mean, he admits himself. I mean, listen, I was a player.
Drugs.
Sometimes I was a player. I was an honest player, though. I let them. I'm like, listen, don't fall in love with me. They probably look at me now like, could I ever have been with this guy? Because, I'm old now and fat. But, I mean, I was a pretty handsome young buck. I was very upfront with him. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, do not fall in love with me.
Yeah, but
I was ruthless.
It's irrelevant. If you became rich and famous, somebody's going to come out of the woodwork.
100%. I'm waiting for him.
This guy did this. This guy did that.
He did this. He did that.
Think about it. Here's the thing too, and any defense attorney, any attorney will tell you, okay, that listen, and this is what they always.
And I'm not proud of my past.
And this is what they always do.
Like you said, people change, right?
They want you to be charged because if I sue you, if I say you did something to me 5 years ago, you did something. And it's my word against yours. I go to a lawyer and they're like, look, man, I can sue him, but I don't know. And then you say, yeah, well, you know what? My friend Tommy was there and he saw the whole thing and so I've got some other circumstantial evidence. And they say, if you could get him charged, now we've got a case. Because if I can get you charged and then you plead guilty and you get it doesn't matter. Yeah, you just say I did it. Now, you can't get on the stand because they're going to say, Mr. Lover, like I don't understand.
Oh, your name's Lover, huh?
Yeah.
You were forcing the love.
Okay, what are they going to say? Like, what can you say? I already pled guilty to it. I got probation. I pled guilty. Why? Well, why did you go to trial? If now you're saying you're innocent. Well, I pled guilty, but it's just because they were going to give me a year probation, and I was afraid if I went to trial, if I lost, it doesn't matter. You pled guilty. You have no defense. You can't get on the stand and say that. You cannot get on the stand because you're going to have to say you pled guilty. So did you lie to the court? Because the court doesn't accept pleas where you're not admitting that what you did was wrong. So you either lied to the federal court or you're lying now, or the state or federal, whatever. Either way, that's what they usually want to do. They press, they usually push. They have a weak case. They push for you to get charged in the state or the feds so that even if you're charged and they drop it, they typically get to bring it up. Well, you were charged. Well, they dropped it out. Well, technicality, they dropped it. Now we're going civil. But what if you actually get found guilty? You're done.
You're going to jail.
You're done. And that's why they push so hard for charges.
So people will just settle.
They'll settle. Right.
So my problem too is, and then this goes out to all the people in the UK. UK has literally been, in my opinion, I'm never going there again, bro. Do you remember they were trying to pass so they could charge me and you in America for giving opinions of what we think is going on in their country?
Right.
I would say we have an answer for that. It's called July 4th, 1776. You tyrannical, Brits. Like, it's like crazy, man. They were locking people in their houses. Like, we live in such an upside down world where we can't question anything, man. We can't have debates about things. Like, we can't, this whole democracy thing is that's why people are waking up. The Great Awakening is happening, Matt Cox. The Great Awakening is in full effect. And Russell Brand is one piece of that. I'm not saying I agree with everything that people talk about. Candace Owens has brought a lot of attention to a lot of different topics that people were never paying attention to. Okay, Andrew Tate, Russell Brand, people like me. People like AJ out of Texas, right? We won't say his name. Okay. Info, wars. Like that. Like, there's been a lot of, okay? And I don't agree. I'm going to make this clear. I don't agree with everything or all of their thoughts.
I don't know anybody I agree with everything.
I never I truly don't believe in grouping all people into one. I don't care how evil some people are. There are extremists in every single faith, religion, creed, race, period. And to think that there's certain groups of people that we can't talk about and we get classified as, we're full of hatred or anti this or anti that, if you know what I mean. I'm avoiding certain words. That's a freaking joke, bro. We should be able to criticize any government that we don't agree with. I had enough of our soldiers going overseas and fighting battles that do not benefit the American people. And a lot of that is related to stuff that Russell Brand talks about and all these other influencers. And the pendulum is swinging back the other way, and we're tired of it, man. Shame on the UK. Not because of Russell Brand. Shame on what you have done to your own citizens during the lockdowns. Shame on what you've done to free speech. Shame on you to even think you could try Americans or try to convict Americans because they speak out against your government. You're a joke. And with your past of colonization all across the world and encroaching on other people's free rights, you should be ashamed of yourselves. The world is watching you. Matt, welcome to the Great Awakening, brother. It's in full effect, man. And I'm excited that I'm on the front line. They're probably coming after you and me next.
And so I have a question. So being arrested, was Andrew Tate arrested for the same crime, but just not found guilty?
Yeah. No, same thing.
He was arrested
and thrown in jail.
He was arrested in
Romania.
And held. And by the way, they dropped all those charges. Now they've recharged him
again.
They've recharged him on. Well, I want to say Fit. Myron. I had Myron from Fresh and Fit on, and he was telling me like they dropped all the charges.
He's another one that's in big trouble these days with these types of people coming after him, and he's very vocal about certain groups, right?
Right. So he's friends with Andrew. So
yeah,
I said, what's going on with that? So because I had actually said I wouldn't mind having Andrew Tate come on and say exactly what happened, like lay down the whole story. But because I knew that he had flown into Florida and they had dropped the charges, so he was allowed to leave. And I said, so they dropped the charges? And he goes, no, they dropped them, but they brought another case. And I go, what? He said, yeah, it's super weak. It's even weaker than the other one. He goes, they're just trying to hound him. He said, and it's so weak that the judge is like, you can go wherever you want. Just come back for the court cases. He's like, yeah. He's like, I didn't do anything. I don't mind coming
back.
Here
in America?
No, this is
in Romania.
Romania. So he flew in here, and this is another thing. This just kills me about. Oh God, what's our governor? DeSantis. This killed me when DeSantis was like he didn't want him here. It's like, bro, like DeSantis, like it's funny because I love DeSantis, but
I did during the lockdowns. I don't like him anymore. But I think he's a snake now.
He says some stupid shit sometimes.
He's a globalist.
Like for instance, the whole well, we don't want someone like that. He's been charged. He hasn't been found guilty of anything.
I agree with you on that. It was ridiculous.
He was charged, and the charges are continuously dropped. These people never show up.
I think he's just doing it for clout.
Who?
Because
DeSantis?
Anything you talk about Tate is going viral around the world.
Yeah, but he also he likes to see, like one of the DeSantis's things are. It's like he's not thinking things through, or he's saying stuff to get attention. For one thing, he started saying he wants to charge all inmates so many dollars a day for and back. So if you did 10 years, he wants to now be able to go back and charge you with having been housed in prison, whatever, $2-3 a day for. Okay, wait a minute. Well, here's what I understand is that, do you have any fucking idea how hard it is to start your life over again? And so they say, oh, look at these guys, they're criminals. You just loaded them up with $80,000 in debt for doing 10 years or back? 20,000. What do you think's going to happen when these guys...
They're going to grab a handgun and try to go get the money.
Yeah, they're going to go fucking rob a 7-Eleven. Like, that's what he's going to do. What choice does he have? You guys are hounding him. You won't let him live anywhere. You won't give him a fucking job. You're telling me he owes $40,000 or $30,000 for doing time 10 years ago? Like, what the fuck are you doing? He can't vote?
That's absurd.
I can't vote in Florida. Did you know that? Even if I put in the paperwork, do you know in order for me to vote in Florida, DeSantis has to fucking sign off on it? He's not fucking signing off on anybody.
Hey, DeSantis, sign off on Matt Cox.
It's ridiculous.
Let him vote, man.
And I like DeSantis. That's the worst thing. I made a painting of him. I actually have a. Did you ever see the thing I got?
No.
You ever see? I got a whole. Let me get it.
Get it. Let's see. I gotta say, I'm impressed with Matt's artwork, man.
So, do you think that like he's sitting in prison right now, or is he just gonna like checked in and then left?
I think he has to go back now because UK and the US have a very strong extradition policy
right now. Okay, he actually just posted a response.
What's the response?
Let's play this. Hold on. So I'm going to Since all right, so this is a response. I'm just going to pull it and show the camera, and you guys can.
He really does have a DeSantis painting. That's crazy.
You can show the camera before we do this.
You really love this guy that much, huh? I loved him during 2019.
Look at these. I got DeSantis paintings. Come on.
Yeah, you gotta let him vote again, DeSantis, man.
All right, so I'm going to play this response.
Not that our votes count anyway.
I'm going to play Russell Brand's response, and you guys.
He just responded.
Oh, he responded.
Yeah. So I'm going to play it. It's just going to be on my camera with this mic, so we can hear it, and then we'll hear your guys' response. So here we are. 1 second.
Firstly, thank you for these incredible and overwhelming messages of support. We're very fortunate, in a way, to live in a time where there's so little trust in the British government. We're very fortunate, I suppose, that this is happening at a time where we know that the law has become a kind of weapon to be used against people, institutions, and sometimes entire nations that will not accept and tolerate levels of corruption that are unprecedented. I'm speaking particularly to those of you that are watching this in the UK. How do you feel about your legal system right now? How do you feel about some of the high-profile cases that are not being pursued and prosecuted? How do you feel that the Southport murders were handled? How do you feel about the government of Keir Starmer? Now, that's just sort of general context. Me, I've always told you guys that when I was young and single, before I had my wife and family, who were just out of shot over there, my beautiful children, I was a fool, man. I was a fool before I lived in the light of the Lord. I was a drug addict, a sex addict, and an imbecile. But what I never was a rapist. I've never engaged in non-consensual activity. I pray that you can see that by looking in my eyes. I want to thank all of you for your continuing support. I want to let you know that our show will be on Rumble on Monday. Thanks for your support there. And of course, I'm now going to have the opportunity to defend these charges in court, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. In the meantime, you lot, stay free, and we will be continuing to discuss this matter.
I really like him, bro.
Yeah, I do.
I believe. Listen, I've been around Hollywood my whole life. He didn't have to force no one. They were throwing themselves out. That's number one. Number two, he said something very important there. How do you feel about your government, Brits? How do you feel about your government? Are you not worried more about Prince Andrew? The planes he used to take with a guy? The list that everyone was waiting for that was going to come from Trump. He's releasing the JFK files and the E-list, you know? Rhymes with Nepstein. What a letdown, my friends. My friend, he's right. You all there that are worried about him, you should be worried about where Prince Andrew was and who he was with. And people like Cindy McCain should be tried and convicted of a crime right now. Cindy McCain's on record stating on C-SPAN, pull up the clip, bro, Colby, because I'm tired of this shit. Pull up the clip. You guys are worried about Russell Brand? You shouldn't be worried about Russell Brand. You should be worried about these people. You should be worried about Cindy McCain, John McCain's wife, who's on C-SPAN admitting to a crime in front of the whole world. We all knew what he was doing, but for whatever reason, nobody would go after him. I'm talking about the guy that had an island, the guy that supposedly offed himself in a maximum security prison, the same one that Diddy's in right now. A man who's connected to all the politicians from around the world. This is what people want the truth to, and we were let down by Donald Trump. He played you. I told you guys, no one's coming to save us. Only we can save each other. But people like Russell Brand, who had plenty of money and fame, didn't have to talk about these things. That's how I know he's innocent. If he had done things that are so bad, he'd be like, I don't want the attention. I got away with all this stuff. What would you do as a former criminal? If you got away with everything, would you want to bring attention to yourself talking about controversial things? I mean, you're kind of doing it now, but...
No, because I got caught.
Right or wrong?
I got caught for everything.
Why would you want to bring heat onto yourself? Ask yourself that question. If he was, why would he want to go and talk about things that can either A, end him up in jail, or his life, or have him whacked, in my opinion, because I do believe in this dark force that controls the world, and people are waking up and realizing that there is much more to the world than we live in. And the world doesn't have to be as bad as it is. And all these wars, and all these conflicts, and all these chemicals in our food, and all these lines in the sky that you guys think, yeah, this just comes out of the airplane. No.
Chemtrails.
Pay attention to the skies. You just zapped our episode right there. I avoided. I could have said
No,
the
we
word.
didn't. We know what we're doing. We're professionals.
Oh, actually, you do. I mean, shit. You started podcasting after me. You got like 20 times the followers. So, I'm with this guy, man. I really like what he's done. Cindy McCain, C-SPAN, admitted. We all knew what he was doing, but for whatever reason, we wouldn't go after him. You know, I looked up the law last week just to refresh my memory. It is a federal and a state statute law that if you know of abuse occurring, especially to a child, and you do not report it, you can be thrown into jail. She's admitting in front of the whole world, we all knew what he was doing. So that means you knew that he was going with minors. Yet none of you, including your husband, who almost became president of the United States of America, what could have made her husband so scared that they wouldn't go after him? We all knew what he was doing, but for whatever reason, nobody would go after him. Why would nobody go after him? Who was he really associated with? Was he a honeypot? You know, we're talking about the guy, his name starts with an E. He had his own island. Okay? He whacked himself,
Pretty
supposedly.
sure you could say Epstein.
We've
said it many times. You can say Epstein.
Yeah.
That motherfucker, bro. Okay? That piece of shit. They said they all knew what he was doing. They would. That's a fucking crime. She should be arrested. You're worried about Russell Brand? Okay, if you, and you said we all knew, your husband knew, that means who else knew? All of you should be charged for not reporting the crime. And what could have made one of the most powerful senators in American history scared to come forward? Now you tell me who's involved in that operation. That's all you need to know. For those of you that were let down by the Trump list and he released garbage, bro. But we know the fucking truth. We all know the truth, what happened. And you're worried about Russell Brand and Andrew Tate? We need to wake the fuck up, man.
Let's tie the bow on the Russell Brand and then get onto that.
Yeah.
I'm about to fucking...
So,
all right.
What are the predictions? Like, what do you think happens from this point?
I think
him?
nothing happens, man. I think it's the same shit. Andrew Tate, bogus.
You're hiding
Andrew Tate. I think the same shit, man. Bogus charges. I always drive Matt crazy, man.
Yeah, what? I specifically said don't hide behind the... Don't hide behind
Because my first thought is, I hear he's convicted, and I'm thinking, okay, he's going to jail, and he's sitting in jail, and no one's going to
he's out.
him. So clearly he's out.
Yeah, their bail. They have very liberal bail laws.
It's character assassination.
It's the
man.
same thing like in San Francisco. You can go fucking rob a place, get charged, and walk
on
right
video.
out. Walk right
Assault
out.
someone.
You could in New York. You see these guys. They can assault people.
That's another thing. Eric Adams.
They walk right out.
That's another thing. Look at Eric Adams. These people have no spines, bro. And those of you that fall for their political ideology, whether left or right, if you think there's any good on left or right, you're a clown. Okay? You're not at the highest level of the Great Awakening. Okay? If you still believe in Democrat, Republican, donkey, elephant, you idiots, man. These people will say whatever to have power, to control us. Look at Eric Adams. I want to welcome all the migrants to New York City. Welcome. The minute he says one thing against his crew, they want to throw his ass in jail. They open an investigation.
Then, like 3 months later, when they're running out of money, he says these
billions of dollars.
Immigrants are destroying our city. Within months, boom, charges.
Bro, there's people that got shot and killed right down the park where I hang out all the time. Migrants did it, bro. That's a fact. So what an upside down clown world we're living in. And then what does he do? He goes and kisses Trump's ass like, please, Trump, I want to go to jail. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Please. And guess what? Everything gets thrown out. He's back. He's talking about now, this is yesterday, we should open up an 11. We're going to open up an 11 in New York City. Yeah, we need to open up a strip club, nightclub in Times Square that stays open 24 hours because that's really helping New York City right now.
Well, isn't he going to run again? Only now he's saying he's going to run as an independent.
Listen, so far he survived, right? But my point is they talk about congestion pricing. They've added a $9 toll on top of a $17 toll. Just call the toll what it is, you assholes. It's a $26 toll to get into Midtown Manhattan. You have created two classes of people in New York City. Those that can afford to drive and those that can no longer afford to. They talk about congestion, Matt Cox. Yet they took avenues like 8th Avenue that had 5 lanes and have made them effectively one fucking lane. Of course you're going to have congestion. These people are fucking clowns. And I love all the people. I swear to God, Matt, it's on video. If Colby wants to re-edit this later into a reel, it'll go viral to remind these idiots in New York City. They were like this clapping when they were announcing. Governor Hochul of New York was announcing, look, we're doing congestion pricing. It's going to be good for you. And the poor people are like, yeah, that's going to be good. And they're clapping because there's going to be less cars and traffic. No, there's more cars and traffic. Guess who got hit with all that? The people riding the subway. The people riding the buses, because there's less cars going into Manhattan now because they can't afford these tolls. So where are they going to make up the extra money? On the subways and the buses, you fucking simple-minded motherfuckers, bro. You fucking idiots that have allowed our city to be turned upside down. Eric Adams should be thrown out of office, though, for even playing these types of games. And this is all because of people like Russell Brand trying to point it out. That's why they arrested him. Fuck him and fuck the Diaz brothers, too.
So with the charges, like...
Who are the
Scarface reference, man. Fuck Espargaro Gomez and fuck the fucking Diaz brothers.
So when these guys get charged federally in the States, usually it's like everything's all wrapped up and they're pretty much done. But is that not the case with with people in the UK?
Who knows, man? They're weird over there.
When we have people on the show and they're like they get arrested by the feds.
Oh yeah, it's pretty much it's over. It's pretty much over.
Is that not the same case?
I don't know. I'm assuming they have they have a very similar system to ours, but the problem with any of those systems is it doesn't really apply to you and me and Bek, although I don't know what his financial status is, but to someone who's ultra rich, that's a problem, because if you're ultra rich, you can level the playing field. Do you understand? Like right now, if I get arrested for something, I have no money to hire an attorney. Even if I do, I'd have to dump $500,000, because keep in mind too that the U.S. Attorney's Office, they'll put 6 people on your case. They have unlimited budgets to put people on your case to try you, and they give me a federal defender that they say, oh, he's going to trial. Okay, for you to represent him, here's $15,000. You're like, $15,000? That's not an adequate defense. You guys have 5 lawyers, and you can hire anybody you want. You can hire investigators. You can do anything you want. You've got a whole pool of guys in prison right now that are willing to get on the stand and say that I did it. Like, you have the police force, everything. You gave $15,000 to a public defender to represent me? Like, that's not even. But see, someone like, let's say it's the same type of system in the UK. I don't know exactly how it works, but I do know that they have trials and in front of juries, and I think typically it's a judge, but regardless. So let's say they have the same system where somebody can't afford it, they give you an attorney. Well, Russell Brand, he can spend $500,000. He can spend $1 million to get his own team, right? Like, let's face it, O.J. Simpson's guilty as hell. He butchered those people, but he was able to put together a dream team that suddenly the state, they were matched and they lost. Well, Russell Brand will be able to do that. Even if it goes to trial, what do you think? They're going to put 4 girls on the stand. They're going to go through all their data, all their emails, all their friends, all the things that they've done, and they're going to end up scouring these women's lives. And before you know it, several of them are going to drop out and say, I don't want to testify.
I don't want to deal with this. Yeah.
And then maybe 2 more might come up, and they're going to read text messages between their friends saying, oh, I'm going to make millions. We're going to get him. I got a bunch of other girls that are going to say the same thing. We're going to sue him civilly. We're going to get $100 million. Fuck him. And that's the kind of thing that's going to come out. And then they're going to be on the stand crying, oh, I did say that, but I didn't mean it. And he did do this and do that. It's like, okay, but you can't believe you now, even if it's true. And I don't know what happened. What I do know is that there's got to be an equal playing field. What they're hoping is, look, Russell, it's 25 years ago. You could do 2 years probation. It'll be easy. You don't have to go to jail.
That's their crack shot. That's what they're hoping he'll do.
Right.
He's stupid if he takes that.
Because then he takes the deal.
And now he's tarnished. He can't get up. He can say, well, I took the deal because I was scared. And the media will destroy him. And people will doubt him too.
Right. And people won't want him on their show. Why? You're convicted. You're a, you did this. Like you said you did this.
Yeah. We'll call them touchers from now on.
Yeah,
we're going to get rid of the R word. Me and you're going to create a word for all of YouTube from now on. Whenever we are talking about physical crimes against women, we will call them touchers.
Touchers? Yeah. You're a toucher.
You're a toucher.
You forcibly did this and forcibly did that. And it's horrible. Touchers. You're a horrible person.
We're coming for you. I was with Chris Hansen. I was with Chris Hansen last week. Shout out.
He's coming on the show soon.
Who?
Chris Hansen.
Yeah, dude, you have him to go.
Tyler.
Do that.
Said
I know you guys were talking, really?
Yeah.
Shout out to Tyler. I know you're watching this. I just saw you in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were just in Vegas. Tyler brought us out there. You knocked out a pod with Bradley, and we were hanging out with Tiffany Fong, who told us some really crazy stuff that we can't say on the air.
Which is, by the way,
You heard about that stuff, right?
Oh, I heard about it.
And then what happened? A week later, it broke a story about another woman,
the
and
whole story
one of the
came
most famous people on earth. But we're not gonna.
Yeah.
Your audience is going to kill you now.
No, you can't say that.
We can't. It's not our right to.
No. But it was Brad went to Brad Lee's place. That was a super what a phenomenal setup, right?
I mean, the guy has literally full production studios, offices, 100 staff,
everybody's
2 floors.
professional. Everybody's professional. Like every single person.
The
that
whole
was
place
there
is
was,
grand. It's like Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, he's got an amazing setup. What was I going to say is, listen, I think it's important that we talk about something.
Good.
Is he wearing a hairpiece? Like I have a buddy who literally is telling me that Bradley has a hairpiece, and I looked at him and he does not. I'm like, I don't think
can
he's
tell
got
you. I don't
does
think.
he?
No,
You don't know?
No, man. No, whatever your friend. There's
and
no
I've been-
way. Listen, I almost.
And he's trolling him. By the way,
as someone
he
who
trolls him.
As someone who's bald, pretty much. As someone who has had some hair restoration work done.
Who are you talking to? Me too. I've had 2 surgeries.
Turkish hairlines. I have twice.
Okay, really?
Okay, I'm still bald. As someone,
I want to go, bro. I want to go.
Yeah,
and do it.
Go there and then come to Albania.
Because I want to go one more time. I need one more
surgery. So you good. I didn't even know you did it. You did it good.
Fuck
Actually,
yeah.
now I can kind of see it.
That's Bank of America money.
Yeah, there you go. As someone who almost took a job working for Hair Club for Men, they almost hired me. I was trying to leave the banking world.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to pay me like $100,000. They're like, and you can get a free hair transplant. I almost got that job. They didn't give it to me. As someone who has family members who do what is called the matrix system, which is like they basically take someone else's hair and super glue it onto your head. And that looks like the best for people that don't have enough hair to do a hair transplant. Because there's some people that just, you can't get a transplant. Unless you have enough hair, you can't get one. Unless they figure out cloning, right? Hair follicles. But I can assure you Bradley does not have a hairpiece. He'll probably watch this and start dying laughing. But his hair does look good, though.
It's too good. It's amazing.
Some people are haters, bro. No, his hair is...
It's too good.
I mean, it's the first I've ever heard.
Like I'd never heard about it. And keep in mind, I sat right now. I'm talking and I'm keenly aware.
And you've done stuff so you would know too.
Right. Oh yeah, I'm keenly aware. I'm constantly checking. I can look, I can see, I can tell. I know the difference in the size of the follicle, everything. Like I know. And so the fact that I was talking, I'm 3 feet away from the guy, and I spent an hour and change with him. Of course, we were probably
just on the air,
20 feet away at that time. But we talked for probably 20 minutes just in front of each other, 2-3 feet away. Never. And I'm looking at everybody. That's just what I do, right? So, but my buddy came back and told me, absolutely. I was like, no way. There's no way. And I said, are you sure? He said, I'm positive. And then he starts sending me posts that he posts on Bradley's videos. Like he's trolling him. He's been trolling him nonstop for a year or two. Like he's really, I don't know if he erases or if Brad Lee's aware of it, but he's definitely doing. He sent me some of the posts. I'm like, he really does.
I don't think Brad gives a shit, man. He's printing so much money right now. He's like, what color's my next Ferrari, basically? I don't think he gives a shit. Even if it is, who cares?
But if I, because I had a guy on the other day, and if I wasn't aware, right, this guy had a I call him a toupee. So I guess it's not. What did you call it?
Matrix system, yeah. They literally polyurethane these things on your head for a couple of months, and then you have to cut the hair around it.
Right.
And then every couple of months you take that off. It's a process, and then they reapply another one.
Yeah. It was amazing. Yeah. This guy's hair was...
Yeah, I have a cousin like that. You know who you are.
It's amazing. I mean, because you have to think I was doing this. And what's so funny is he also, because he had it on, he knew, he was constantly looking at my hair and I'm looking at his, neither one of us saying anything, right? So, but yeah, it was, but his was amazing. And you would have, if I wasn't so aware of it, and I didn't notice there was just a subtle difference in certain things that I could tell, you wouldn't have known. Like, a normal person would never figure it out.
So all you bald ones out there, $2,500 and a plane ticket to Turkey. You get your hair back.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of.
But I mean, dude.
And I met a guy who's
bro.
Been to
You're
Turkey.
Fine, man. You're good.
Everybody says that. So.
But you're ridiculous.
So
at this
listen,
point.
everybody.
Are you kidding me, man? I mean, dude, where would you even? Where do you need hair? I don't see it.
Here's what happens: is that every time you have the surgery, it gives you about 30% coverage. right? And they'll tell you 30, oh, that's all you need. Well, then you get it done, you come back and you go, no, it's not as thick as I want. So I had another one. So I've got about 65, 60, because you get about 30, 33%. So I get whatever, about 65% coverage. One more and it's 100% coverage.
I need one more too, bro.
And I want one more. Now the problem is if you go to Vegas and go to like these
it's like 30,
they're charging like they're charging they're charging for like 1,800. They're charging like 14, 15,000. Now I know a buddy who did one and basically was like, look, like argued the guy down, right? And I remember when I got mine done, I argued the guy down because I was like, listen. And he had said something like, I forget what it was. It was like 8,000 or something. I was like,
I would have never known you even did one.
And I said 8,000.
But now that I look at it, I can tell because you should probably see the same in mine.
Yeah, I can tell the difference in the follicles. I can see the spacing. Yeah, I got doll hair.
Yeah, the cat's out of the bag. But I've already admitted this to you guys publicly. Like this, like, hey, women get breast, whatever implants, and this and that. Us men, we like to get our hair back.
Oh, I don't have a problem. I'm not concerned about what anybody else is.
It's what we do. Okay.
So what happens is I was on the run. So I remember I went into the place and I went to the guy and he said whatever he said, like 8,000. Let's say 8,000. I forget what it was.
Which is not a bad price for US.
No, this was 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's not a bad price.
So he said like 8,000.
But you did the old tech, bro. They sliced your head.
Yeah, they sliced the back of my head.
Man, you have the Frankenstein scar.
No, so yeah, I got two. So he tells me that 8,000. I said no. I said listen, bro. I said I'm gonna pay cash, and I got on me cash like I'm gonna get a cashier check. Like I'll bring in cash. And he looked at me and I said, so guy needs a discount for cash. And he looked at me and he went,
5.
No, he got up, he walked out, he goes, hold on. He goes out of the room, he came back, he said, we cannot take cash. He said, we're not taking cash. He said, we'll drop it to 7. And I was like, okay, fuck it, 7. And I came in, he's like, but you can't give us cash. I can't take cash. You got to get us a cashier's check. I said, oh, I'll come back with it.
He went and asked, though.
I went with a cashier. I gave him a cashier. I went and got whatever. I came in with a couple, 2 or 3 multiple cashier's checks from a couple different banks. But but I did it. And then I came back. Then it was like a year later or 6 months later, a year later, I came back. Boom, did it again. Just before I got arrested.
I mean, your hair looks great, bro.
I appreciate it.
I always love when they go, is it real? I'm like, yeah, it's your hair. You're just taking, like, picture a tree. You take it from the front lawn carefully, and then you plant it in your backyard.
Yeah, it's still, and then it still grows.
It's your hair.
It grows.
It's not fake hair. It's
I can get a buzz cut. I can get a buzz cut, or I could pull it out and put it in a ponytail. Like it will grow. It's my normal hair.
I don't have the scar. I have the new tech. Where they pull out each follicle.
I saw that. And you see, every time buddy I've seen, you see them after the surgery, and I think, fuck, you're gonna have little spots all over your head, but then they don't.
No,
you don't have spots at all. It's amazing.
Yeah, the new tech. Yeah, and it's not even doctors doing it over there. They're just techs.
Do you have to do meds after it? Do you do like the oral meds?
You have to take. They almost gave me a heart attack. They give you like a steroid so you don't swell up and all that stuff.
Well, I'm saying like what is it? Like
it's just 10 days, man. Well, I don't take any of that stuff because that messes with your sperm, bro.
That's a big reason why my wife wants me to do it because I got a.
Yeah, you're like a perfect candidate for one. You would have a full head of hair literally after one session. How old are you?
30.
You're perfect, but you're not gonna lose much more than that.
Well, here's what's interesting too. I don't know if you know this, but as you get older, you have less of your hair falling out. So when you get up into your 40s, so between the age of about 30 and 40 or 45, that's when you lose the bulk of your hair. Like if you're gonna have a hair, then after that, it's that progress of losing your hair.
It just stops.
Slows down, almost stops. Like so, and I've had that. I had doctors when I was locked up tell me that because I was taking Propecia, right? They give you Propecia. And of course, you get locked up and you go to prison. They don't give you that.
No.
You're like, yeah, but the rest of my hair is going to continue. So I remember talking to a doctor in there. He's like, no. He's, how old are you? And I was like 40 or something. He's like, you're good. He said, trust me, you're not going to lose.
No, so mine stopped after 40.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
your wife should never want you to get hair, Colby. You're a handsome dude, man. You get hair, she's in trouble.
He wants to just shave his head.
If you're a married woman,
I just bought some clippers myself.
Married women should never want their husbands to get their hair back, bro. You don't want us to get our hair back. God took our hair out to make it harder for us to cheat on you. Okay.
What about what is it? Beard and balls? What was the?
Oh, Manscaped.
Manscaped. You should just.
She asked me. She's like, you can't get a Manscaped. You can't get a Manscaped thing.
I got a Manscaped. I have it up there. I don't use it.
But we're getting hair in all the wrong places. Me, like my ear, like places. Like once you hit like 35, 40, you start getting hair in places. Like
that's what I do when I'm taking. That's what I do.
Eyebrow hair.
That's what I do when I watch TV. This is what I do the whole time.
Me too. I pluck them. I do the same.
Blink. I'm watching TV. Blink.
I do the same thing. I stopped doing it in the nose because I started you started getting irritation. I just buzzed the nose, man.
Yeah,
I was ripping nose hairs.
I've talked to a couple transplant place in Turkey, and I'm trying to like, hey,
my brother has an amazing spot, bro.
He does? And where?
that he found for me when I did it. I'll get you the name.
Yeah.
Well, I
Top
know
of
a
the
guy
line.
too. Same thing. I got a guy too.
Yeah, you sent his stuff.
Yo, listen, we're talking. Maybe I'll go with you, bro, because I'm serious about the third session. You want to go?
I'll go too because I mean,
I'll guide you. I'll guide you
to
to the Turkish lands, bro.
Yeah,
I've been
I
there.
need someone to go with me.
Well, they pick you up in a Mercedes van. Like the whole thing is done. Like they take you, pick you up. The only thing I did is some people they don't care. They just wrap their head. The first time I did it, bro, they're like, "Be careful," because you're swollen, bro.
Yeah.
I hit the roof of the van as I was going into the thing. I'm bleeding on the airplane, and I thought I just ripped out half of whatever they just did, bro. It was crazy. I get off the airplane, bro, in Albania. I'm going through customs. They see bandages, blood. At this time, like the whole thing in Syria and everything was. They thought I had went to they were making sure I hadn't gone to another foreign country to fight as like a
for
terrorist,
like freedom fighter or something.
Bro, it was crazy. And it was funny. It's like you go to the airport, man, in Turkey. It's like everyone online's a man, bro. With their head wrapped from all over America, bro.
Yeah, you ever seen those TikToks?
But they do it in Albania too. In
guys?
Albania, it's the same people as Turkey. They just flying because Albania's only 45 minutes away. I did the second one in Albania, no problem. So what I did is I went and stayed at the most expensive hotel in Albania. Because for 10 days, you really don't want to move around too much. Because after 10 days, then you can, you wash
So
it
you
gently.
stayed over. Well, yeah.
I
you
stayed
over
in room
there for 10
service.
days.
I don't want to go out looking like Frankenstein with a bandage around my head. I stayed inside, man. And now that we're famous, man, we can't just be seen on the street wrapped
Well,
with
you guys should
bandages.
be
Man.
doing podcasts together. With
That would be funny, man.
bandages on your
I'll
heads.
definitely vlog this one.
Listen,
why not?
Julian.
I just started the vlog,
Julian Dory, which has a channel.
Shout out Julian.
Julian. He was telling
And
me.
when am I coming on to talk about West Huff, bro? Good.
He's not here to watch this shit. He didn't watch these. He said when I told him, I said I'm going to go to Turkey. He said, "Yeah, you're going to wake up, and you're going to be missing you're going to be missing your liver. Or you're going to be.
No, you're not.
What are you doing? You need to.
Turkey's
rethink
cool,
that."
bro. Turkey's real chill.
So
Actually,
that's why I need somebody to go with
Brad
me.
Lee just had that guy on his show, Bill Hayes, Midnight Express.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're having him in tomorrow.
Sounds like Tyler in the background.
Tomorrow.
It's probably one of Tyler's contacts.
No, is it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I did text him. He
Yeah,
did. I think
it's
he
Tyler,
connected.
bro. It's
He
Tyler.
connected us, but he also did fill out the form. So if you are interested in being on the show, there is a form in the description where you can fill it out. So he filled it out, and I got his contact there. But
I remember that scene as a kid in the Midnight Express. For those of you who don't know what Midnight Express is,
A movie.
American caught, smuggling in Turkey, gets booked.
It's like 2 keys. He's got like 2 keys of fucking.
Book got thrown at him. Book got thrown at him. Thrown into a horrible Turkish prison.
No.
What do you mean no? That's
Here's
the
what-
movie
no.
though.
I watched the movie.
Okay,
I just
so where did
watched
he
it 2
get?
days
Where did
ago.
he go to jail?
Here's what happened. First, he gets 4 years, which is horrible enough, right? He appeals it. They decide to resentence him
20.
life.
He should.
So yes, you're right, but initially it's only 4 years. 3 years later, he's getting out in like 40 days. He's got 40 days to get out.
And this happened in real life also.
Real life, and this is exactly. He says the story is accurate.
I spoke to him online one time.
Horrible, but go ahead.
I remember the one scene where he hasn't seen his love of his life, and she comes to visit him. He's like, and they're between the glass. He's like, "Show me," because he's all a man. She has to like show her breast. That's like one of the classic
It is.
scenes.
It's a horrible scene.
I can't say I didn't
because
push-
he's so broken.
Yeah.
He's so broken.
It's crazy, and the fact that he escaped, man, is amazing. That's
I never. Listen,
Did he really escape though?
No.
Or is that just a movie?
No, he does. But they sneak him in money.
How many years of his life did he use? Do you know? Whatever. You cover on your
I'm
show.
gonna
You want to
figure it
find
out.
out? This is an amazing story. My Cox podcast.
Here's what I'm going to ask him. So here's the problem with the movie is that they actually have one point. Remember when they break through the blocks in the bathroom and they get down into the underground catacombs that are flooded?
Yeah.
But they're walking around. Well, at one point they're down there. They can't figure out how to get out. So they go back. Then they find out. The authorities find out that they had broken through the wall, and they grab all of them. They torture them. They send them away to like the one guy he ends up almost beating to death, and he ends up going to a sanitarium or something. But yeah, I don't quite understand. I don't understand. You guys got down like it didn't seem difficult to patch the hole that they went in. Like the blocks are there, but they had etched out I didn't understand what they don't. There's so many things they don't explain. Like how did they find that out? Why didn't you take the stuff that you put down and mix it up with some water? Because it's that
or
it's
even
that
dirt
degraded.
or mud or whatever.
Oh, it's so fucked up. Like the walls are so fucked. There's no way you'd notice if they just put it back
Just
in.
a little bit. Yeah.
You take your whatever slide. I'd make sure I put it back in so it didn't look like
had
it
been
was so
removed,
obvious. But
Like Shawshank Redemption.
I have all kinds of questions.
They didn't have the poster like he did in Shawshank. Andy Dufresne.
Andy Dufresne.
What a great
and
movie,
Red.
man. amazing.
It's a great movie. Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos like this. Also, please like the video and share the video. Also, please go into the description box. We're going to leave Bek's links to his YouTube channel and his Instagram and all of his other social media. We'll leave them there where you can go and follow and check out his rants. And I appreciate you guys watching, and thank you. And please consider joining our Patreon. It's $10 a month, and it really does help Colby and I make these videos. Thank you. See ya.